Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to Michael Hayman.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, with the foliage behind me and the greenery, the jungle feel, I feel very proud to say, Amajid, that I am a gazelle. I'm glad that most of you have finished your main course by introducing myself as a gazelle, given it's a certain type of game. I'd have felt somewhat more nervous if I'd been introducing this little segment perhaps before the main course rather than after it. So thank you very much for inviting me. I think on behalf of the guests, Amajid, I'd like to say a warm congratulations to you, a warm congratulations to the students that have cooked for us here tonight. And actually, if I've ever met an entrepreneurial principal, I'd say we probably met one here tonight. So I wonder if you'd like to join me in having a applause. I'm going to really try and set Gazelle in context. It's been a wonderful thing to be involved in. I suppose by background I'd like to say, root and branch, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm one of what the Prime Minister calls the doers and grafters. I like to work hard, I like to run my own business and be my own boss, and that's ultimately what being an entrepreneur is about. It doesn't mean you have to own your own company, but it does mean you have to have a sense of owning your own destiny. And what's been great is to be part of a group that have literally leaped. Gazelle is the metaphor, the leaping gazelle, those that make the progress. And Gazelle is an initiative across colleges, 20 colleges are across the country, who've come together to actually believe that there is a different way, that actually churning out generations of students that are no longer fit for purpose isn't the way to go. It was Einstein that said that doing things over and over and over again and expecting a different result. You know what he called that? He called it insanity. Well, it seems to me that for the last 30 or 40 years, we've been practicing insanity on some of our young people. So the idea of helping them become more enterprising, have dreams to live, be focused on things like wealth creation and employment outcomes is a pretty brilliant idea. And I think that actually the more colleges that get involved in ideas like this to spread entrepreneurship, the better. Because actually, when we think about what recovery looks like, when the Chancellor calls it the enterprise-led recovery, that's a rather high-handed way of saying a small business recovery. Because it's no longer very large employers that are the net employers of people. It's businesses like us, small businesses that take on apprentices from colleges, that actually build wealth, build opportunity, and actually are the net employers of this generation. So really, what I wanted to do tonight was to set my thoughts about entrepreneurship within a certain context, because I think that when you run a business, when you have that control, there is a sense of journey. Now, that journey is a national journey at the moment, and people are very worried about it because there is a recession, a very punishing recession. And what's happened is an awful lot of things that seem to be certain have suddenly become very uncertain. The futures that people have, the jobs, the services, the way that we lived our life just a few years ago has gone possibly forever. And of course people are worried about that. People are scared about that. But there's also a flip side to that journey in terms of a sense of opportunity. And the entrepreneur is all about opportunity, doing things differently. Now, Shakespeare called the future the undiscovered country. And I think that the undiscovered country is really the life of the entrepreneur. The life of the entrepreneur is not about knowing every step of the journey. The life of the entrepreneur is about adapting to change, overcoming change, making change your fellow traveller. So if there was once a time where Cortez and Columbus were the adventurers of their day, perhaps the new adventurers have names like Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, perhaps a lot of the people that are here in this room today, because that is where the adventure, the front line of Britain's adventure, is really taking place. And the thing about recession is that it creates a crisis for a lot of people, whether they lose their jobs, whether they actually take an opportunity, but nevertheless it creates a point. And for many of those people, there are some real difficulties. But But there is also a renaissance of small businesses that is going on in this country at the moment. More people will become their own boss, maybe not by choice, but by outcome. And that's an opportunity for this country to reinvigorate itself, to reinvent itself, and to reinvent itself through entrepreneurs and by entrepreneurs. Because I think the fact is that I don't know how you all feel about this, but I don't necessarily want to go back to the way that it was. I like the independence of being an entrepreneur. I worked for a very big company. I worked for WPP, for Sir Martin Sorrell, for many years. And I had a great time doing it. But I'll tell you something, it was nothing compared to actually running my own business and the feeling of growing that business and the camaraderie of growing a team of brilliant people. And I think that once you've got the entrepreneurship bug, it's very, very hard to actually leave it. So the idea of making it easier for younger people to understand and to experience what entrepreneurship is all about has got to be one of the most obvious ideas known to man. The trouble is, we just haven't done it yet. And of course, this is where principles like Amajit and the other principles that are taking this idea on need to be applauded and congratulated, because what they are doing is they are exposing people to ideas, not just about taking jobs, but actually making jobs through their own career choices, through the businesses that they may run or the businesses that they help grow. And what you see is FE colleges around the country. You see, I went to City College Norwich just over a year ago, as it happens. I hadn't met these principals. I had no idea what they were doing. And actually, I'd come from a background where I didn't really know much about what the FE college sector did. And I went into City College Norwich, and it was like walking into a West End ad agency. Here was a startup incubator with young kids, very much like the guy we heard earlier, building their own businesses, building their own ideas. Not because ultimately they were all going to be entrepreneurs and sort of run off in that direction, but because actually the college was teaching them a sense of independence and innovation and creativity and skills that we are in absolute short supply of in this country at this moment. And actually the FE colleges are a brilliant starting point for an initiative like this, because many of the vocational skills that they actually help teach to people create the backbone of what this country is about. That is where the entrepreneurs come from, the small business community. And the college network is absolutely at the grassroots of actually creating that. So with an initiative like Gazelle Local, it becomes really important not just to think about Gazelle as a national entity that is dealing with a national programme and all sorts of grand ideas like that, but actually the difference that you can make. Now, I'm chairman of entrepreneurs at Coots & Co. Whenever I see a gold envelope, I can tell you I get worried, because I know it's not my Oscar nomination. I know that what is in it is an ask to get involved, an ask to take part. Actually, this is a really important moment for all of us in this room, because what do? Do you sit there, do you moan, do you groan, do you just say, I wish things were different, or do you get involved? Do you take part? Do you be part of something that could create fantastic outcomes for a new generation of people that frankly need us? And I think that there is an obligation among entrepreneurs to actually get involved, to actually be part of their communities, because some of the work that they do by their nature as mentors, as inspirers, is the most engaging action that can be done. People are inspired. Every time young people meet entrepreneurs, I can tell you, it changes their lives. And what we have done is we've assembled a range of brilliant entrepreneurs, from entrepreneurs that you would know from the TV, people like Peter Jones and Doug Richard, people like Luke Johnson, who founded Pizza Express, and also people that are coming up. You know, there's a guy called Ben Ramsden. He runs a social enterprise called Pants to Poverty. And, you know, it's a brilliant idea, because basically he's building a sustainable cotton business. He's bringing in the cotton from India. And his intention is, frankly, to kill Calvin Klein. He is an entrepreneur through and through, a red-blooded entrepreneur, but he has a social conscience and he has a social identity. And that is actually part of the new generation of what entrepreneurship is all about. And we heard about those new skills, those ICT skills, those changes that are going on. And actually they're going to require entrepreneurs to deliver on them. It won't be the big companies anymore, the big giants that actually sort of create the innovations. It will be people in garages, it will be people in little shops and little sort of centres that actually become the giants of tomorrow. And what an exciting road that is to travel. But actually, if you go back not many years ago, being an entrepreneur was almost a dirty word. Now, my dad was an entrepreneur, and all he ever said to me was, I don't want you to be like me. And actually, I spent a lot of time in my early life actually thinking that I wanted to be a lawyer or an accountant, and apologies to all of those in the room that are going down that route. I looked into it. It wasn't for me. And actually, I kept on coming back to the fact that there was something in the blood. There was something deeply about my own personality, which meant that actually I was unemployable. I wanted to actually do it my way. And there is an element of the difficult bastard in an entrepreneur, and actually you have to be completely focused. You have to be disruptive. You actually have to believe in yourself. And these are skills that are brilliant skills. And the earlier in the education system that they're delivered, the better, because that is what's going to create a new and brilliant generation for this country. I helped to co-found an organisation called Startup Britain, because actually this was my moment of thinking, you know what, I want to get up off my backside. I'm so fed up of listening to the BBC every night with a diet of daily doom where we almost feel like we've got to give up. Why not get up and actually do something? And we helped 160,000 businesses last year, including a fantastic day in Nottingham that I came to, where we had startups queuing down the road. We had a big battle bus in the centre of Nottingham, and actually sort of wanting to get the advice and the ideas to help their businesses survive. And let me tell you why it's important that you help them. Because every single year, 270,000 businesses register in this country, and 220,000 businesses go bust. And many of those same businesses are the people that actually went for it and they failed. They actually didn't have the financial fitness, they didn't have the experience to survive. Now, many of those businesses could have survived if somebody had actually taken the time to give them better advice, better mentoring. And it's a tragedy, it's a human tragedy when people lose those dreams. But similarly, there's also a message about not giving up. You know, why should it be in our country and not the States where failure becomes, if you like, the excuse to try again? They call failure in the States the $1 million MBA. Well, in the UK, if you fail, people don't want to talk to you. I mean, I don't know what that's all about. Ultimately, it's the sort of the idea of entrepreneurship is if at first you don't succeed, try, and try again. And that's the story of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is about doing and actually going for it. And that's why there's a very solid, brilliant lesson that entrepreneurs can bring in to the education system going forward. Because actually this is about creating a nation of doers, a nation of grafters, people that want to work, be more productive. That's what, if you like, is the absolute antidote to the sort of depressing news that you hear about that missing generation. 1 million 16 to 24-year-olds with nothing to do, no prospects, a generation we've given up on. Which is one story about many entrepreneurs, is that a lot of people gave up on them. A lot of people gave up on them because they were dyslexic, they were slightly odd, they actually believed that they could do things in a different way. They were, if you like, round holes, square pegs, they went through it. And the entrepreneur has a very social and important lesson to give. So I don't think that this is about left versus right. This is about smart versus stupid. Stupidity says, go on as we always have done. Smart says, become a Gazelle entrepreneur, support Gazelle Local. Because I think that, you know, I started earlier on there about the undiscovered country. The undiscovered country is a very exciting place to be. I like the idea of actually being a discoverer as part of my generation. There's an entrepreneur nation to build in this country. I hope many of the people here tonight build it. Amajit, well done. Thank you very much for having me.
You know, Michael's talk was a subtle call to action.